clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 902.
House Resolution 902 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st, Burns of the 159th, Coomer of the 14th, Belton of the 112th, Jackson of the 64th, and others. A resolution recognizing January 25th, 2018 as National Guard Day at the Capitol and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens for an invite resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. That's certainly a hard act to follow. I can't even remember when I was 9 years old. So. But I'm here today, as ought to be obvious to everybody, that today is National Guard Day at the Georgia State Capitol. I'm sure you've seen our people in uniform downstairs in the gallery and all around. The National Guard is today's citizen soldiers. They are modern-day Minutemen. They live and work in our communities. They are neighbors. They send their kids to our schools, and they go to our churches. But they always stand ready to get the call to protect our nation. I've never been in the Guard, and I've always served in the federal service, both on active duty and in the reserves. But having worked in the Department of Public Safety, been the Commissioner of Public Safety, the first Homeland Security Director in Georgia, and had responsibility for GEMA, I've worked with them extensively during my 43 tenure in state government. They have always been there in our state when we've been hit by tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, and ice storms. They have the capability to bring specialty equipment to bear that no one else in the state possesses. During the G8 at Sea Island, Brunswick, and Savannah, we utilized over 5,000 Georgia National Guardsmen for security for the 25 heads of state from around the world that attended. And in today's Department of Defense, our National Guard finds itself in the forefront of the military with an operational tempo for them that probably exceeds any period since World War II. Georgia National Guardsmen are routinely deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. I hear talk of patriotism around this Capitol all the time, and it's certainly not up to me to determine who's a patriot, who isn't. But I can tell you, these young men and women that serve in the National Guard are patriots. In the balcony, there's some members of the Guard, and I'd like to ask them to stand and be recognized. And I never like to pass up an opportunity to recognize those men and women who served in the armed forces of the United States. For all the people in the House and all the people in the balcony who served in armed forces, would you please stand? Thank all of you for your service. Now, I have a few people, senior members of the Guard, up here on the podium with me, and I'd like to introduce them. First is Major General Jesse Simmons, the Assistant Adjutant General for the Air National Guard. Next is Brigadier General Randall Simmons, who they tell me they're not related, who's the Assistant Adjutant General for the Army National Guard. Then we have Brigadier General Thomas Danielson, Commanding General of the Georgia State Defense Force. And last but certainly not least is the Adjutant General of the Georgia National Guard, Major General Joe Girard, who I might add that General Girard is a graduate of the Military College of Georgia, and his twin brother is a Brigadier General on active duty in the Army. In his day, when he graduated from the Military College of Georgia, it was known as North Georgia College. It is the #1 college and university in this country for production of general officers in the U.S. Army, with the exception of West Point, which is quite an accomplishment. And I also know that it produced at least one Speaker of the House of Representatives. So if you could right now, please join me in welcoming Major General Girard to the podium. Oh, thank you.
Speaker, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. Thanks again for having us today and celebrating the National Guard in the state of Georgia. I've got a picture. I think, are we showing can we pull up a picture? Or I don't know if they were able to do it over here. There it is. So I want to quickly explain the significance of this picture. First of all, that's a C-130, one of your C-130s from Savannah, and you can tell it's hard to make it out, but on the tail of that, that's a Savannah is written in the flag, the Georgia flag there on the tail of that aircraft. But the person at the podium is the vice president, and that picture was taken in Tbilisi, Georgia, the country of Georgia, about 50 miles from the Russian border. And so we were over there with our Army and Air Guard, some of our equipment, this past summer, participating in the exercise Noble Partner. And so that's some of the strategic value of your National Guard and the message that we're taking around the world. So with that, I'll start by saying that your National Guard is in great shape and continues to maintain a high state of readiness. We have to, because our military leadership requires it, as the world is only getting more dangerous and complicated. Your Air Guard is as busy as ever. The J-Stars unit in Warner Robins has been constantly deployed since 9/11, supporting the warfight. They continue to do critical work in multiple combatant command areas of operation and won their 20th Outstanding Unit Award this year. That's more than any other Air Force unit, Air Force, not just Air Guard, Air Reserve, or active duty, but any Air Force unit than any other unit has won. And 5 of your 10 Air Guard units won the Outstanding Unit Award this year. The C-130 wing, the mighty 165th, currently has a portion of their unit deployed in Kuwait. And prior to that deployment, the 165th ran the U.S. Air Bridge down in Savannah that supported the relief effort to Puerto Rico out of Savannah. A huge effort moving a lot of supplies and people to assist Puerto Rico after the hurricane. On the Army side, your 648th Maneuver Enhancement Brigade traveled to Romania last summer and conducted a contested river crossing as part of a U.S. Army Europe exercise that included coalition forces from numerous countries. When they visited a local mayor in the town there in Romania, the mayor told them, "I've been waiting 50 years for Americans to come back to Romania." Another indication of the significance of our formation. When the Army established a pilot program designed to get the active component and reserve component working more closely together, they picked the best to ensure the program was successful and looked to Georgia and our 48th Infantry Brigade combat team. The 48th is partnered with 3rd Infantry Division at Fort Stewart, and that relationship is paying dividends not only for us, but also for 3ID. We currently have approximately 200 Army Guard soldiers deployed, but that number will increase significantly this year as several more units will mobilize, culminating with the 48th sending almost 3,000 soldiers to Afghanistan, and that will be the third mobilization of the 48th to Afghanistan since the War on Terror started. Our State Defense Force continues to be an unsung hero for the state as they volunteer to help in numerous ways, from search and rescue to helping during hurricanes to training with the Department of Health to establish mobile hospitals. They are value-added and great partners. There you go. Last March, we hosted Exercise Vigilant Guard here in the state of Georgia, which is a NORTHCOM emergency response exercise. Like we routinely do here in Georgia, we do it better than anywhere else. Our exercise was the largest Vigilant Guard in history throughout the nation, with several thousand guardsmen and agencies from outside of Georgia coming here to participate. GEMA was obviously critical to the success of that exercise, but we also had Department of Public Safety, Public Health, and DNR, just to name a few others, as we improved our response capabilities here in the state of Georgia. And when we were called upon yet again last fall when another hurricane hit, we were ready. We assisted law enforcement agencies, removed debris, and provided logistical support to FEMA and other responding agencies. Your guardsmen truly enjoy helping their neighbors during emergencies, and we will always be ready. I would be remiss if I did not mention that our business model would not work if it weren't for the support of our employers. So I want to thank them publicly. Anyone that hires a guardsman, we very much appreciate it. And your support through education benefits, specifically House Bill 700, will help us recruit and retain quality airmen and soldiers. We're very proud of our Youth Challenge Academy program. We're graduating approximately 1,100 students a year through that program and giving some of our underprivileged youth a second chance to become productive citizens. And the Youth Challenge Academy Foundation does a great job supporting those students as well and raising money for their scholarships for those students. And they're hosting a gala tonight at the depot that I think some of you are aware of. And finally, we must thank our family members. They serve alongside us as well, and we would not be as strong as we were if it were not for them. Thank you again. Please know your Department of Defense is always ready. Thank you very much.